Good evening. This is Victoria from Women's Issues, Women's Voices, the only feminist talk show in all of Mid-Missouri Radio Land. We welcome you this evening to the Story Hour. This evening, I have with me in my Zoom studio, Adina Isebelle Ravenswood. Hello, Adina.
Hello, Victoria. Great to be here.
So good to see you. So Adina and I have known each other socially for more than a couple of decades. And so I was really excited when you reached out to me, Adina, and said you'd be interested in being part of this summer. I had to remember when this is being recorded, this summer edition of the Story Hour. Yeah, and so listeners, Adina is a pharmacist who is also a women's health enthusiast. And that's actually one of the ways that, Adina, you and I connected like this in the last few years is you did a survey, you did some questions, you were exploring about women and menopause, premenopause. Yeah. And for me, that was a really rich experience because it's not something that most people ask questions about. Yeah.
It's kind of glossed over.
Glossed over. In fact, I once did an interview with someone who I mentioned that word in a public place, and she was so shocked that she couldn't remember who I was, but she remembered me. And then several months later, I was in another event where she was speaking, and she actually referred to this event that had happened where this woman had had the audacity to say the word menopausal in a public place.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so I think that the reason I'm saying all this is because what we talked about a little bit was that your story is about women and their bodies, right? And that menopause, menstruation, all of these things are part of our everyday life, and yet there's so much silence about them. Yeah. So is there anything you want the listeners to know about you before you start telling your story?
Well, I think I'll get into most of it in my story, but just really kind of a starting off point, because I am a pharmacist, really this is very near and dear to my heart, is women being in their bodies. So much of what I do in the pharmacy is doing all the things, what am I trying to say? The symptoms of women not being in their bodies is what we treat in the pharmacy, right? If I were to put a name to it.
Powerful sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing, can I just begin then?
So definitely. So let the folks know the name of your story, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to be your audience.
All right, perfect. Yeah. So the name for this story is The Journey into My Body. I really didn't start life out in my body. So to give context to this, I know that a lot of women will probably feel the same. And we all have different ways that we think of that and the reasons why we weren't in our body. I was born in communist Romania in 1978. And I had all this, the current time was very restrictive and outer authority ruled, nothing that you cared about was important. And I also had just all of this oppression in my lineage until then. And then it was playing out in the environment into which I was born. So my parents actually left me behind when I was 3 years old with my grandparents in the village, and they escaped. It took them 9 months to get to a safe place in West Germany. And then somehow they finally got me over there. We lived there for a year, then we moved straight to Columbia, Missouri. My dad got a job at the university, so woohoo, Columbia. And yet, growing up, I never felt like it was safe to speak my mind, to be too showy. Um, I mean, America in 1984 is when we came here. I was 5.5, and I mean, it was the 80s, right? Women's lib had a good foothold, and things were pretty good here. Um, but I always felt this like almost strangulation and like clamping on my shoulders, like, don't do that. When I was a kid, it wasn't so hard, I guess, before I was aware of a lot of things. I was just like, oh, okay, I'll just do what I'm told. And, um, I could be the good girl. But as I started to come into myself and grow older, it was really weird because I was not interested in kind of like the conventional things. And I didn't want to do the conventional things. And yet I had to, I had this feeling. So growing up, I stayed in my head. I didn't travel down into my body very often at all. When I started doing that in my teens, mid-teens, late teens, um, it was kind of scary at times. There's like, and we all kind of deal with this in different ways too, but I felt okay being a sexual person. Like that was okay. One-on-one sexually with somebody was fine. And it was a great way actually for me to be in my body at times, right? I had those little moments where I could do that, but interacting with people, even just walking together, it was just awkward. I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, what am I doing in my body? And then dancing, like, oh my God, that was out of the question, right? I just didn't want to do it. Yet there was this magic and this medicine in it that part of me knew. So when 1994, I went to Romania with my parents. We went back after the wall came down and all that stuff. I was 15.5 at this time. And we went to this restaurant and they were doing like a show and there was a belly dancer there. And I was just like, oh my God, how do I do that? Right. And then it was years later. I want to say it was 2000, and it was an Earth Day celebration in Peace Park here. And there were dancers. And I was just like, oh, it's here. Like, oh my God, I can do this now. It's not like some faraway thing. So I started that next January of 2001. And so it's been 20 years that I've been dancing. And this journey has been so amazing and powerful. And it's one of the ways in which you and I met, the drumming and the dancing and just the group of people that we were involved with at the time. And it was just such a change from how I had been, this welcoming community where it was like, it was safe to dance. And it was, I had a wonderful group of women to dance with. And it was a great time to, to kind of flirt with each other and just witness each other was the main like power of that, right? Like I was being witnessed being in my body, and I have to say this too. For the first like 2 to 3 years, I was really like touch and go with it. I would skip a lot of weeks of classes and stay home, watch Fear Factor and eat a bag of Doritos because it was just like, that was the safer thing to do for my nervous system. I would get so strung out over it. So I had to ease in, but somewhere around like the mid 2000s, I really kind of hit my stride. And then in 2006, I gave birth to my first daughter, and talk about being in my body. So I had her at home in a kiddie pool, and I had never felt that kind of power before. It was something that was hard, but I wanted more. I wanted more and more and more. So I had another daughter 3 years later. natural birth again. And so all through it, though, the dance really was like the thing to help bring me into my body, to, unkink those little parts that were just stuck, and to make it feel safe to be seen and to see others, So that is my story of the journey into my body.
I'm just sitting with that for a moment.
Mhm.
And so can you, because you told me before, right, that you're at this sort of transformation place now where this is like your life's work.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that dance is one of the ways in to being in your body, and you're offering something to the world to support other women. Can you just talk a little bit about that to kind of finish up the story?
Definitely. Dance was so powerful for me, and I want to offer that to other women. I'm hoping that it can be this beacon of, it's safe to be in my body and to experiment and put a toe in and take a toe out and, just start to feel that. So I'm offering online belly dance classes and also transcendence classes, which is like a conscious dance modality, which is a little more free.
What was the
It's
name of that
structured.
again?
Transcendence.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Yeah.
I did something that I called transformation, right?
Oh, that's great.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Before the pandemic, something, it was that trance spiritual dance. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think either way, some people prefer a little more structure and technique, like with the belly dance. And other people are just like, I need a little structure, but I don't want to do what you say. So that's where the transcendence comes in. Yeah. But classes online, and first class is always free. So you can always come try it out.
I just love this parallel path. So how do people find out about what you're offering? What's your social media presence, or is there other ways that you want them to find you?
Yeah. So there are 3 ways. The first is on Facebook. I'm just at Adina Isebelle Ravenswood, and Isabelle is Isebelle. And then you can also email me at askdradina@gmail.com. So ASKDRADINA. Feel free to email. And then the website is kind of in progress, but you can go there. It's blissbellydance.com. And hopefully there is a way to reach me on there.
I completely understand. I've had a website and it's like, it doesn't really represent me completely. I mean, there's glimmers of it, but yeah, so I understand that. Yeah. Oh, it's coming. So Adina, I already hear a future show that I'm going to pitch to you after we're off the recording.
I'm already in.
You're already in. Thank you so much. And folks, if you're listening to this and you didn't get all that information, you can always send me a note at WIWV@KOPN.org. And just in the subject line, make sure you put Victoria, and then just say, hey, I heard, this person talking, and she was talking about being in her body, like whatever you can remember about this. And I will connect you up with Adina. Thank you so much for your precious time, Adina. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Victoria. I really love talking about this. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.